Brian, our last episode. Listeners,
I
it has
know.
been a blast to record with you and share the first season of Good Morning Ecosystem. We set out to deliver a power-packed series of conversations with leaders who know how to identify opportunity early, shape strategy on a massive scale, are pushing the boundaries on what can be done, and that's exactly what the last 8 episodes have been about. But you know what? Nothing better than a season recap with the highlights and a little insight, and that's what we're going to get into today. So Brian and I thought we'd share our thoughts and some of our takeaways. Brian, what do you think about the themes that really stood out for you?
First of all, I think we're incredibly lucky, right? I'm incredibly lucky to have such a great co-host, to have, such a great team behind Good Morning Ecosystem. I think we're mutually lucky to have the ecosystem that we have. We have just such committed, incredible leaders and folks that are involved in this connected ecosystem that we're collectively building, from Yamini to Avinash to Jill to having Lee, Jen and Paul and Noah and Matt, and just so many people investing their time and energy in helping our ecosystem grow better. I think the number one thing for me as I reflect on the last several weeks together is just how fortunate and how grateful I feel for being a part of this big thing that we're building together. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. We started out this episode with ecosystems are like moving, living, inspiring, breathing things. And, our ecosystem is moving. And I think a lot of our partners can feel it.
Absolutely. Incredibly grateful. I think, too, one of the things that, as I was thinking back, a consistent theme that stands out to me from across all of the episodes is just unwaveringly, across every guest, the importance of putting the customer first. And if you start there and work backwards, you can't really go wrong. If you're solving for the customer, you might not get it exactly right the first time, but if we're all mutually sort of aiming towards that goal, good things happen. I remember Yamini emphasizing that, Jill, Avinash, everyone sort of said that in one way or the other, that the customer is the focus. And so
many companies are now realizing that they're one small piece of their customers' ecosystem. Mm-hmm. This is not about our ecosystem first. It is about my customers' ecosystem and understanding their ecosystem and then designing mine around theirs.
I think that's solved for the customer first. Just some of our conversations, everyone had an incredibly high bar for customer service. It is your brand. It is what you're known for. I remember when Matt said that people should love him more than your mother.
We want clients to just say, this was the best experience they ever had. I can't wait until I get to do my next one, which of course we don't want them to, but we want to set the bar for this is what they should expect from all of these potential experiences they have.
No, I think we could talk a lot about this. I like our comment. What I like to tell is how do you make people love you more than their mothers? This idea of I would never pick anyone else after working with you because it doesn't even matter what you do. I'm going to ask you if you do that first. And by the way, even if you don't specialize in that, I want you anyway.
That is an incredible bar for customer first and satisfaction. Oh, that's true.
Yeah. Well, what were some of the themes that stood out to you? Curious to hear your thoughts.
That one definitely did. I think the other ones for me were, one was nothing comes easy. So if you're a partner, you're hearing this now, you're an app partner, none of it is easy.
Those that are really looking to disrupt their market and make a difference, I think those are the people that realize they can't do it using the same tech stack as everybody else, right? So HubSpot is new to this upmarket space. And those innovators that are going, okay, well, I've seen my 3 competitors are all using the same kind of CRM and tech stack, right? I'm going to take a risk potentially. Personally, I don't think it's a risk, but they may see, I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to go with HubSpot. That actually allows them to catapult forward rather than just stay at the status quo of their competitors. So I think that innovator personality trait is so clear in the customers we've worked with over the last 2 years.
Yeah, it's really clear in a lot of our customers too. We like that a lot. Amy, you were saying easy to use. You were saying a lot of things that, and I think we talked a lot about like the different CRM systems put together. Part of our DNA is crafted, not cobbled, and it's also easy to use. Sometimes we get this perception that easy to use is not powerful, or you don't have the ability to customize and extend. Can you talk a little bit more about that? What are you seeing in terms of as we move up market? What are the actual limitations, or is that a myth?
Yeah, I think with the upmarket space, we look at the kind of, I suppose, with a small customer, when we implement HubSpot, we generally bundle in one training session, and that is sufficient. And maybe there are 10 users that are getting trained. And even if you have a 20% attrition rate in your staff, that means 2 people will leave in that year. And the other 8 can teach those 2 people what they need to know.
So if it's about selling and making connections, if it's putting your stuff on the marketplace and then hoping it will just, take off and thrive, if it's being an expert partner on a particular app or technology, if it's betting on a new business or new product and enabling a team like in Service Hub, SAM.
Because of course we're selling the software, but we're servicing on top of that software. So it's important for our organization to make sure that we have a unique voice in the mix to say, you can solve these problems with our services on top of HubSpot. And I think that was the biggest shift for us is, we've always sold HubSpot. We do work across all of HubSpot, but when it was focusing on Service Hub specifically, service teams, success teams have very different problems than marketing and sales. So it was really about re-educating ourselves and our organization about how to talk to service. What are their problems? What are their pain points? What are their goals? And how do we solve that using the HubSpot platform?
Makes sense.
I imagine you wanted to be like the obvious choice for a certain segment of customer, right? That was what our thinking was too when we started focusing more on HubSpot and on onboarding. It's like, if you fit these parameters, how do you become one of the obvious, if not the obvious choice? And Origin 63 is like, when I think of Service Hub or, like as a best transition, you were one of the few, that come very top of mind, right? You all planted yourselves there.
None of it's easy. Or even finding a 1 + 1 = 5 partnership, knowing that it's not easy.
One, it's really thinking through, how can they bring the most value? Right? So it's the understanding that the goal of all this is, again, it's a solve for the customer. And in order to do that, what role or roles can they play that are accretive or additive, rather than kind of a mindset of, hey, it's a win-lose type of situation. So I always try to, frame it as it's got to be a win-win-win. Win for the customer, win for the partner, and win for the, the orchestrator of the platform. If that's not the mindset, then it's not going to work out very well. So that's, I think, one kind of key point. There's been times where you're sitting, particularly in the app partner world, there is this notion of, hey, I built something, I built an integration, I listed on the marketplace, and now I'm going to cross my arms and wait for the the cash register to ring.
Doesn't work like that.
I have never seen it work like that. It may work like that in a few consumer app stores, maybe, but in the business world that we live in, the build it and they will come doesn't fly. So if they're not thinking through the overall go-to-market, and I think it applies to solution partners, it applies to tech partners, it applies to everybody, right? You still have to do your work. I think reminding everybody that this is a way to accelerate, yes, but it still requires, a lot of work, messaging, positioning, go-to-market resourcing, etc. And then third, which again, I think all of us live in the world of SaaS, and you guys can double confirm this. It's not just about getting the customer and acquiring the customer, it's about retaining the customer. And what role or roles are those ecosystem partners going to play in that, right? And how do we make sure that the customer is actually getting the value that's promised?
Yeah.
And then how do you grow that, grow the relationship, grow the value?
You just have to put in the work. And it is everything from how you might think about enabling your team, to mission, to hiring to enabling. It's all part of it.
What does an upmarket client need? A lot of them may have a data warehouse. Maybe they have an ERP like a NetSuite. Are you building skills around those tools? I think too often we just simply default to, is it a built-in connector? Mm-hmm. And oftentimes the larger clients have more complex needs than that. So you have to say, am I going to invest the time and energy to essentially build the expertise that we can do the more, I'll call it sophisticated, complex use cases and solving for those?
Here. I think for me, one of the things, a shining moment, I think a couple of them were in the first episode having Yamini on.
One of the other insights that I learned, being in the sales part of the organization is the value of partners. Now, I said value sales, and part of what I did at that time was talk about the return on investment and total cost of ownership in doing large technology projects. And every single time I was in front of the customer, there was a partner engaged. And the power of having partners, engaged early on in the implementation, power of having partners drive, great onboarding and great implementations was just front and center. And so I think very early on in my career, I kind of learned the power of having partners involved to make customers successful. And then later on, this is probably a little known fact, but I worked for a partner in the CRM ecosystem. And it was great experience kind of being on the partner side and seeing, how they were building businesses, how it was important, for them to put their entire careers on the line to bet on, a software, company, a vendor to have that a great thriving ecosystem. And so I think it was nice to be on the other side of, being a partner as well. So I've seen both sides. And I think those lessons were really, really important.
We have insight to how committed she is to partners, just based on the proximity that we have to her. I think that I was really glad to be able to share that with the rest of the ecosystem, because I do think that has been very transformative. Her depth of knowledge of partners and the ecosystem and the commitment to scaling with our connected ecosystem and the value that they have on customers, I think is incredible. I feel I'm incredibly fortunate for that. There's a lot coming at everybody every day. What are you unmuting for? What are you, with everything that's coming at you in every moment, what are you stopping and what's grabbing your attention right now?
Yeah, great question. I am just flying back from San Francisco from our generative AI conference where I spoke on adoption challenges in enterprises with AI. And I'll say that what's top of mind for me is what does living in an AI native world look like? I am a digital native. I vaguely remember the world before that, but I'm so digital native that, if you imagine going to a bank now and having to deposit a check in person without that mobile app, I would not bank at that bank anymore. And so there's just a set of norms that I think will become true in an AI native world where my kids will grow up AI native. And it will look like, being able to ask questions and being able to reason about things. And how that impacts an ecosystem is very top of mind for me. I've always been a huge believer in opening up platforms so that you'd have the right APIs. In an AI world, you need the APIs to just interact with other systems and data. Reasoning is expected. Brian, what about you? What are you unmuting for? What's keeping you up at night?
I think similarly, right? I think about AI a lot right now. Even while we've been doing this podcast over the last few weeks, to think about the releases that have come out and the new platforms and technologies, it's mind blowing. And I think about where we'll be 6, 12, 18, 24 months from now. And that's really exciting. It's a little nerve wracking, but also a lot of fun because I am using these tools, not just daily, hourly at this point. And it's been transformative. And I think about how will things continue to evolve? How is life different, with these new tools and techniques? how much more productive can we be, and how much more can we explore together. It opens up brand new horizons. And so I'm unmuting for that a lot, and also really excited to vision together with partners, you and I, with the rest of HubSpot and our customers. So, what are those new horizons and those new opportunities that we can jointly kind of work towards together? So thinking a lot about that. All right, partners. Well, Good Morning Ecosystem has been all about building together in public, and that doesn't change just because season 1 is coming to an end. There are all kinds of opportunities to continue the conversation, but the biggest one you can't miss is Partner Day at Inbound on September 17th. HubSpot partners, don't forget to get your tickets and join us in Boston. We can't wait to see you there, both Karen and I. As Karen said, everyone should come. Everyone should be there. What did you say, Karen? What was your quote?
Oh, I don't know if I had a quote, but I'll also do a plug now. As a huge tennis fan, Serena Williams is coming to Inbound, so you should all come and then join us at Partner Day, Brian and I.
Nice. I think it was anyone can come and everyone should be there. It was a really great quote. So
it's a good quote.
It is. Good job. And prospective partners, don't sleep on this opportunity. Join our ecosystem today. We would love to have you. Partner Day is exclusively for app and solutions partners. We'd love to include you. You can find out more. We'll share a link. Until next season, let's grow better.